and I'm just going to talk to you about my newest saga in my relationship. So, as you guys know, we've been having problems, and one of the ways that I tried to solve it is by focusing on creating emotional maturity within myself, working on my self esteem, returning to therapy, and returning to supportive programs. And I noticed, and another thing, the biggest thing is I have been studying how to overcome your fear of intimacy, because intimacy was something that I've always craved and wanted, but just didn't realize that I was behaving in a way that um, prevented intimacy from happening. And not only was I behaving in a certain kind of way, I was thinking, you know, in a certain kind of way. So I began to start working on myself. And we have been getting along really good now. In fact, the Valentine Day card that she gave me, it says, I love you more than ever. It was so touching and so beautiful, right? And the thought of losing her and really losing her, it really whipped me into shape, because I had, I guess, started taking advantage of her. So I want to just give you a scenario of how I'm using codependency recovery to fight fair, right? All right, so this is what happened this morning. This morning, again, she got up because she's off this week because she's a teacher. And she got up and she was making a lot of noise because normally she gets up around 3:30 in the morning. Well, I don't get up until 5:30, and I I drive really far away from work. You guys know, some of you who are here with me in the morning, I be talking for an hour and a half. That's how long it takes to get to my destination, right? So when she woke up at 3:30 this morning and she was fumbling around and making a lot of noise. I said, "Babe, you're making a lot of noise." I said it nice, right? And she said, "Nicole, I know you are not serious," right? So then um I got up, went to the bathroom, and came back, and she was on her phone. But as you guys know, when you're on your phone in the bed, it's bright. That light is bright. And I just felt irritated by it, because the side that I wanted to sleep on, if I wanted to turn around, there was a bright light there. So I said, "Man, that phone is bright." And then she goes, "I'm on my phone." So by the third time, I had kind of had enough, because I had turned around again, 20 minutes passed, and the bright light from the phone was still beaming in the bed. So I got my pillow and I politely said, "I'm going to go into the other room because my sleep is being disturbed." So she gets up because I knew she wouldn't go in the other room because her mom's furniture is in there, right? So she gets up and she says, "You only think about yourself." And then she sashayed into the other room, right? But now in Coda, I have a boundary that's up. And the boundary says, I don't let anything past my shield without first asking, is this true? Is this not true? Or is this questionable? So I didn't let her comment in when she said, you only think of yourself. I sat with it. I took a shower with it. and I made some coffee with it. And time again, I kept seeing example after example of me having the most amount of consideration, you know, just example after example. I just saw how considerate I am with her mom, with my animals, with my coworkers. I'm very considerate. And so she was on the toilet, and I said, "Do you want your coffee?" So I brought her coffee to her. I said, "Do you want your phone?" She said, "No." Okay. So when we came upstairs, so she came upstairs and she still had a little bit of an attitude, right? When I came out of the shower, um, the roses that she brought me with the water in the vase had fallen on the floor, right? And I said, and there was water there. And I said, "My goodness, what is that water coming from?" And she goes, "Well, you know, maybe, Nicole, it came from your cat jumping on the dresser and knocking the vase over." Now, before I was doing self esteem work, right? Self esteem is the number one characteristic for, hi, good morning, everybody. Self esteem is the number one characteristic for being a healthy adult, right? So I've been doing these self esteem exercises. So when she made that little comment, I took up for myself and I said, "Well, you're the one that brought the cat upstairs into our bedroom and then laid down and went to sleep." I defended myself, you know? And then she said something snippy like, "Well, I need for you to remember that the camera need to be turned on." And she still had an attitude, right? Because we have this camera downstairs and we've been trying to negotiate how, to respect my privacy and still have the camera on. I didn't like her tone. She was still trying to take it to the argument earlier. So I went near her after I took a shower, and this is how I had a rebuttal. I said, "You know what? I thought about what you said this morning, that I only think about myself." I said, "And you know what? I thought about it and I sat with it and I really wanted to learn from it." And I said, "And I completely disagree with you. In fact, I am very considerate. I am considerate with your mother. I am considerate with you. I am considerate with animals. I am considerate with my coworkers." And I use this voice. In fact, I'm so considerate that I took a 80% cut from YouTube in order to do the work that I feel that my maker has created me to do, because I care so much about the people who I'm supposed to show up for vocationally. So I said, "No, mm-mm, I'm not inconsiderate at all." I said, "However, you know what? If I were you, I would really start building myself up in my self talk, because as you begin to feel good about yourself, you will see things in others that are more affirming." Wasn't that beautiful? Ooh, ooh. I mean, I did not, I did not cut. I did not get angry. I did not put her down. I was like, "No, what you said to me, I used a boundary." And that boundary kept her words out until I decided if it was true or not. Okay. However, I do see areas that I could be more considerate, but I know one thing about myself is I am considerate. I am very considerate, really considerate. And so then this is how she came back at me. She said, so some time passed, and she said, "What happened to my Valentine's Day card?" Because I didn't finish writing it out. She said, "What happened to my Valentine's Day card?" So she got me, right? And I said, "Oh, honey," I felt embarrassed because it was on the floor. And I felt embarrassed because she got me, right? She said, "I don't want it anymore. It's that day is come and gone." And so instead of keeping an attitude going, because in my recent training, they said you want to focus on resolving the solution and getting back to the mission. And the mission is intimacy. I like the way that feels. So I don't want to say things that's going to push her away. So she said, "What about my Valentine's Day card?" And I just owned it because that's what the therapist said. She said, when somebody is like telling you you did something wrong or whatever, just own the shit. Yeah, I did, you know? So I said, y'all got to listen to this. So I said, "You're right, honey. You're right. I didn't finish the Valentine's Day card." And her card was so beautiful. And I said, "I didn't be," and I got vulnerable. I said, "Because I was scared, right? And I would have revealed things that were tender, right?" So she got me. She got me, right? So then I went in there and I put my wig on, and I was getting ready to go to work. And then I thought about it. And I said, "You know what? Because I'm esteeming myself, right? I'm always telling myself what I'm doing good because I need that. And nobody else is giving it to me, so I might as well give it to my own bitch ass shit. Fuck it." So I was like, I said to myself, my self talk said, "That was so damn sweet, girl." I said, "Girl, you are just sweet as honey." And I said, "The way that you just handled that, Nicole, was beautiful, girl. You were tender, you were vulnerable, and you know, and so you saved her feelings." I said, "That was absolutely beautiful." And so as I left, I went over to kiss her and check out what I said. I said, "You know what?" And I was rubbing her hair. I said, "When I'm tender to you, it makes me like myself." I said, "When I'm tender with you, it makes me see how lovable I am and how lucky you are to have somebody around you that speaks to you so tenderly." And I'm not trying to do it to cut her. I just started this codependence group. I want you guys to come. Yeah, I guess so. I guess you guys can come. And it's a self esteem group. And in the self esteem group, we tell, we teach each other how to develop a positive self talk. You got to build yourself up. So, for some of you who were here yesterday, I was practicing my motivational talk, and I did really good. I had a real strong command of the audience. I've been listening to YouTube videos that teach me you know, how to get down with it and shit. So I started getting down with it like the YouTube people were saying, and it was very good. You can learn a lot on YouTube. There's some smart motherfuckers on here. So I looked at the audience, right? And I really watched my self talk because, self talk is a form of something called internal boundaries. So I kept my internal boundaries sharp and I wasn't letting anything negative in. I was building myself up. I said, this is what you're here to do. This is what you're supposed to do. You are getting through to them. That was a very good point. You are doing a good job. You got this, girl. This is very good. Look, they are receiving this. And then I prayed. I said, God, help me talk to myself right. See, I'm somebody. I matter. My contributions matter. What I find important is important. There are people who I can touch. These people, I can make a difference. And while I was in the audience, you guys, I'm going to tell you what happened while I was talking to these girls. One lady raised her hand and she said, I agree with you. I do believe that God called me to a certain line of work. She goes, but I feel so worthless. She was so sincere. She was so sincere. And then something happened that I did not prepare for. All of a sudden, in the middle of the speech, I told them a story that I had not prepared for, but I didn't need to prepare for it because it was real. She touched me. She touched me, and I didn't expect that. I wasn't prepared to be touched. She touched me, and I told her the truth that I seen for myself. I said the only thing that got me feeling good about myself was having a relationship with a higher power and believing, what I call my higher power, God, and believing what God said about me. And actually just fellowshipping with God, I just started feeling better about myself. And I said, and I told them, I said, and then one day me and my mama had a showdown. It was like years and years and years and years of abuse and her telling me all these terrible, horrible things about myself. And I just felt like I just wanted to die than to be hearing all that negative stuff every day, every night. And so she started that shit again. But by that time, I don't mean to offend anybody that doesn't really believe in the Bible, because trust me, I've been there. I hated the Bible. I get it. But I'm at a different place now. And so, this is just what my get down is. And I was reading things like I'm precious and honored in the sight of God. And Joyce Meyer was really, 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 really emphasizing you are the righteousness of God. You are not defective. You are not flawed. You're not a bad person. Just because somebody who was sick couldn't recognize your value doesn't mean that you don't have any value, you know? So I began to start talking to myself different. I was like, just because my mama talked to me like that, don't mean that I got to talk to me like that. And if she loved herself, she wouldn't be talking to nobody like that. Because I noticed that as I started talking to myself, saying that I'm somebody, I got things to say, I have gifts to offer, I matter, my contributions matter. God can use me. I can make a difference in people's lives. My existence matters. You got to start talking to yourself. And yeah, at first them demons are not going to want to leave. They, no, you not. You say, yes, I am the righteousness of God. See, I got to the point where for me, my higher powers book, which is the Bible, got to be the highest authority in the land. So if God said that I am praised and honored in his sight, then I begin to start saying that to myself. So me and my mama had a showdown. And after that girl said in the motivational talk yesterday, after that girl said, how do I do what I love to do when I feel so worthless? And I said it touched me. All of a sudden, I just lost it. I went back in time, and all that pain of me and my mother came up, and I felt the Holy Spirit come in the room so strong. I didn't know what was going on. And I saw my mama right in front of me. And I remember her starting to tell me, you this, you that. And I said, hold up. First time I'd ever defended myself. I said, it is written, because she's a Christian too, and Jesus is her Lord too, that I am the righteousness of God above reproach. I'm the pupil of his eye. I matter. I am precious and honored in his sight. I am good enough. He says, ye are good. So if you think contrary to the word of God, that's between you and your father, the devil. You don't tell me who I am anymore. And after I did that in the middle of my motivational talk, and those girls started clapping and woohoo, right? They started rooting and clapping and crying. And I did not anticipate that at all. I don't know what that was called, but she touched me. And I really wanted her to know, I feel you. And this is what I really did to get over that. And I still, I still battle with it, but that's why, I'm starting these self-esteem groups, and it felt so good. But I love that I told my girlfriend, I said, you really should improve your self-talk. You should be a little bit more positive with yourself, because then you will be a little more affirming when you speak to others. Girl, I don't, honey, that was the classiest way that I have ever told somebody off. I mean, I told her off with so much love. And that's better. I like it like that. I much prefer to tell somebody off in love than to, hurt their feelings or anything. But I want to say good morning to all of you guys who are here this morning. Um, it seems like it's the same crew coming in every morning, and then about 600 of you watch it a little later because you text me or put it under the video. I'm watching the replay now, so I appreciate that. But yeah, you guys, what do you think happened in the middle of the talk? I said I had a showdown with my mother. I said, oh